guys, it's Sue. I just thought I would share with you how I do my crackle technique. Well, not my crackle technique, but you know, the crackle technique. This is a 8x10, an 8x10 wood panel. I've already pre-stained this one just because I want it to be nice and dry when I do the technique. But I'll show you what I did. I took just some burnt umber and threw it on a plate. Of course, this one's almost empty now because I've been using it all day. There we go. And to stain this, all I did was take a baby wipe or a Clorox wipe, and I'll show you on this. I just dip it in and I add a little bit of white to it because I don't like it dark, but yeah, so you just wipe back and forth with a baby wipe to stain your wood, and then you're going to want to let it dry. Okay, this is just acrylic paint. That's all I use to stain my wood is acrylic paint, and then it dries nicely pretty quickly. You can use the heat gun if you want, and if you wipe it off, you get more of the wood grain that shows. So that's basically all you're going to do to this. And then I've got white acrylic here, which is just Deco Art white acrylic, and I've got my white glue, and I've got my paintbrush for my white paint, and I've got my paintbrush for my glue, keeping them separate. Okay, so to get this nice crackle technique, all I'm going to do is take my white glue and swoosh a whole bunch across here, and then you want to apply the white glue and then apply the paint right afterwards. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and I'm going to spread it out. And you need a heat gun for this technique. And the reason I stain my wood, I know like I'm covering up the board completely. The reason I stain my wood first is because I really like the look of the brown showing through the white crackle to make it look really antique. It's just kind of a preferred look for me anyway. So while this is nice and wet, I just like kind of going all over the place. I find that gives you better crackles. A little less controlled crackle, you know what I mean? Okay, so then I'm gonna take my white paint, and while this is still wet, I'm going to apply a good layer of white paint right over top of it. I like using my fan brush for this because I find it gives you a really nice thicker coat, and it doesn't disturb, because the bristles are so soft, it doesn't disturb the glue underneath. It doesn't take off as much glue as it's putting on paint, you know what I mean? It's a soft bristle. And then once you get as much paint on as you want, you're going to take your heat gun and you're going to heat this up. I'm just going to touch up my edges here because I'm dripping. There we go. I like to do my sides afterwards. Now I'm going to just take my heat gun. It's going to get loud. And then I just heat up. And you can already see it starting to crackle there. And then sometimes when it's not cracking as much as I want in a place, I'll take just a little X-Acto knife and just kind of give it a little bit of a drag. It makes it crack a little bit more. And that's how you crackle. So this takes a while to dry, to fully dry it. I mean, I could probably lightly touch it now, but before I work on it and before I create anything on it, I will let it dry probably for a good like 4 or 5 hours. So I just use white Elmer's glue. It's probably the cheapest and good old, you know, good old reliable Elmer's. Again, for my stain in the background, I do like to use a little bit more of a heavier paint body than the Deco Art. So I use Social Artworking, which is actually made by Deco Art, but it's the next step up. So it's a little bit thicker. It's more student grade instead of craft grade. And so, yeah, I like using this for the staining. And then I just use this for the top, because I'm going to be covering the whole thing in resin anyway. What I'm going to be making with this, I am uncertain. I'm not uncertain. I'm actually going to do a birdhouse, but it's going to be a mirrored birdhouse. I'm using glass and resin. It's going to become a mirrored birdhouse with clover all over it. And I'll give you an example of the Crackle technique done on resin. So this is one that I've done with the Crackle technique underneath it. And you can see the resin is on top. And yeah, so it looks really, really pretty when it's all done. And so this one, like I said, is going to be a birdhouse, a mirrored birdhouse. And then there's going to be clover like this all along the bottom. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to do to the top, but we'll see. But it's gonna kind of go with the thing. I have an Irish festival coming up, so I'm trying to make some more Irish stuff. So yeah, so that is how you mirror or crackle using Elmer's glue and paint and a heat gun. The heat gun is the magic. Okay, so happy crackling.